All right. So now it's Dave and myself, and we're going to be talking about just the two of us, and we're going to be talking about an Adelaide band called Kaiser and the Machines of Creation with their new album, which was released late last year, Flowers and Lies. So 9 tracks for 46 minutes, the debut album from this incarnation. It's about the third incarnation of this band. They released it December 2020 independently, self-produced by Paul Kaiser in his home studio. There are a few videos available from this band as well, and I believe there is an album released a few years ago under a different sort of lineup, like whatever they were doing there. So different lineup, different stuff. So this is the newest incarnation, and they've got an album to go with it. And they worked on this one for quite a while. I think a couple of years they spent working on this one. So let's see what you think. Dave, how did you go with this one?
Yeah, this sounds really good for a self-produced album. They did a really good job, I think. It's very different. I can't think of any band to really compare it to. It's a bit proggy in parts. There's some light and shade moments. It's a bit arty, but being arty, but not being too flashy. And it's not music for musicians. It's not overly pedantic and precocious to be arty, but it's just something fresh and original, which I didn't really get it the first time. It's not really the thing I go to listen to, but listen to it a couple of times, I started to really get into it. It's a bit of a grower. But
the more you sit with this one, it's going to get under your skin, yeah.
Yeah, it's very rewarding if you put the time in, especially because there is no band that I know of that does what this band's doing. You can't really compare it to anything, which
put me in like the Tea Party with more of a prog rock twist and maybe a touch of Bowie in there or a touch of Mike Patton too.
I did kind of get a bit of a later day Bowie vibe from the late 90s, early 2000s. I thought I might have been tripping though, but I'm glad you got that. So that was cool. Yeah. Also, from his vocals, the singer reminded me a little bit of Jeff Tate.
I got that, but also a bit of Bruce Dickinson in delivery too. That higher, yeah.
Not like an operatic wail or anything, but just in his tone and his way of delivery. His vocals work really well with the guitars. They balance really well. It's like kind of, if you go back to the old Boston song, More Than the Feeling, when the vocal stops and the guitar takes over, they kind of just blend perfectly. And I thought that was really well done.
Kansas did as well, really well. Yeah.
So it's not everyone can do it, and they pulled this off really well. It's an interesting listen, especially if you want something different. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Institute and We'll Climb the Mountain were my standouts.
Okay, I think we crossed over on Institute there. Yeah, we did, and We'll Climb the Mountain as well. So those are my two. Yeah, like I was saying, it is different, isn't it? This isn't your average, hard rock record. It's not purely prog. It's not purely metal. It's got a bit of everything, sort of this wonderful melting pot going on, which is actually refreshing to listen to. It does take a spin or two to get your head around it fully, because it's not one of those ones that's going to be you just put it on and you're going to go. You need to spend a bit of time with it. But once you do, it's really rewarding, I think. Like I was saying, it put me on a bit of the Tea Party with, Mike Patton, Bowie, proggy sort of stuff in there. There's a few bits and pieces, but they don't sound exactly like any of that. It's just like they're the closest reference points that I have in my musical collection, so to speak. I think to really appreciate this, don't listen to this through your shitty headphones. Actually put it on a good setup. It really does need that. Otherwise, it might be a bit thin and you won't really appreciate the full depth of what's going on in the production, because for a self-produced record, this is actually really well done. I thought the guitar lead work was fantastic. That really added to the songs, like with what you were saying about the vocals and the guitar trade parts. But the lead, when it flashed, wasn't overdone. It was just enough to really bring spark and life to things.
Icing on the cake.
Sorry?
The icing on the cake.
It was exactly that, yeah. I like the lyrics too. The lyrics and the composition went hand in hand to really tell some very interesting stories. There's a bit to unpack in the lyrics too. It's not just, dumb fun, cop an egg, go to the pub kind of rock at all. It's got a bit more thought going on, and there's a lot to take in. So it's one of those ones that the deep listen will really reward you in that regard. And this has a bit of everything. It's got the hooks in there too, the storytelling, but it's also got like musically piano keys, synth, bongos, acoustic guitars, chimes, heavy riffs, pounding drums and bass, along with that lead work I was mentioning before. It all really does cover a lot of different ground, but it's all done incredibly well. Like I said, the mix was good on this. I actually really enjoyed it, but it had to be done through the proper setup. Like I said, otherwise it might be a bit thin, but the panning and the layering, because there's a lot more going on than you think too. Once you get really into this listen, there's a fair bit going on in there. And once you can really sit back and take that in, I thought that was really well done. The attention to detail was good. It was just the right amount of grit, but also just the right amount of polish. It didn't go too far one way or the other. It kept it so it was intense and got your attention, but at the same time, it wasn't overdone. It kept that garagey kind of vibe in just the right amount as well for mine. I don't know, it's a bit different. I enjoyed it once I settled into it. It did take a couple of spins, but once you give it you listen and it clicks for you, in for a really cool ride, I reckon. So it's worth persisting if it doesn't get you on the first pass. 8 out of 10 from me. Institute will climb the mountain like you did, but also picked It's Okay to Wake Up on that one too. So there's a bit there. Cool. I'm glad I wasn't, because it's one of those ones you're never quite sure how it's going to go, and you do something a little bit different to normal. So I'm glad it wasn't just me that enjoyed it too, which is cool.